Good evening, gentlemen, and a few of you ladies that may be listening. This is Spiritual Art of War, back at it again with another episode. And this time I'm going to kind of go over a little brief conversation that I had with a woman, young woman. She is she's very religious. She's heavily involved in her church. I haven't really kind of gone too deep into like what her denomination is, but she is of Hispanic background, and she's about mid-20s. I want to say anywhere between like 23 and 25. And we were having a conversation about like marriage. In fact, what happened is I showed her a video from it was like an old video that kind of went viral some time back with Drewski, and in the skit he's working in a warehouse, and he has like a work wife, like basically a woman that he's like in a relationship with at the warehouse. And like, throughout this skit you see them like flirting, and then the next scene pops up, it's like another dude is in the break room talking to the girl that he's talking to at work, and he like threatens him and lets him know, hey, that's mine, that's mine. And then like the next scene, like he's leaving work, and his wife is picking him up. And I showed it to her, and she was like, yeah, that's crazy. She said, yeah, that's what really goes on. And she said it was sad that, so many people are moving like that, meaning like having extramarital affairs. And so we began to talk about, people using people, how on both sides you have men using women and women using men in regards to relationships or marriage, right? Because most people are motivated by their own desires, and this is irrespective of other people's, meaning that they're willing to take advantage of people, even down to breaking their hearts so they can be fulfilled in whatever desire that they have. So we were having a discussion about that, and then kind of segued into we talked a little bit about polygamy, and then we talked about like what I noticed, and this is with observation, talking to people, even communicating with people online, like people that would say stuff like, oh, that they and their spouse have been together for 25 years and they still love each other, and they're the best person for me, best thing that ever happened. And I would ask, I started doing this, hey, how old were you? If it's a female, I might ask her, hey, oh, cool, that's great to hear. How old were y'all when you met? And they were always very young. The women were always very young. When it's a man commenting the same thing, I'll say, hey, how old were you how old was your wife when you met her? And they'll say something young, either high school age, early 20s. And it was like a consistent thing. So I told her that, and I said, I told her that was the common denominator with people that were happily married, was the women were young when they met their husbands. And she told me, this is what she told me, peep this. She told me it makes sense. She said, wow, that actually makes sense, because that first love is different. And you know what I told her after that? I said, and you can never replicate the feeling of that first love. And she's like, you're right. She said, I guess that's the reason why, like, she struggles with a relationship with someone else, because of the fact that she will always compare the next man to her first love. So what are we talking about, gentlemen? And a few of you ladies that may even get this, like she did. We're talking about imprint. And mind you, the way she described it, at least briefly, the way she was insinuating it, it wasn't even like a super duper serious relationship. It was like more like a puppy love. But it was like someone that either she probably had a crush on, maybe obsessed with, and they probably had some kind of a relationship, but for whatever reason it didn't work out. And she's, saying that she does compare other men to this guy. And she says it makes sense why. And so it was a really eye-opener. I mean, the fact that she understood it like pretty well was, pretty interesting. And I will say, I have actually brought her up. If you recall one of my past episodes, I've told you that she was never has been outside of the city of Houston. She doesn't, her and her family, they don't really travel like that. And that was the one, if you recall that particular episode. So what it is that when you think about something like this with someone that is young and want to get married, she wants to get married. She's like very serious about, she's just going to church, and she appears pretty serious, but she goes to her church. She has like Wednesday night Bible study. She goes to like Friday or Saturday. She goes like Friday night service. She's Sunday at the church. So she's very religious. I think it's in part because, her background was somewhat tumultuous, and, luckily she has like, she's close with a lot of her siblings, and especially her older brother and her sisters, and she has a great relationship with them. Her younger, with all her siblings, even though they're from like different. There was some overlap. You know what I'm saying? Like meaning like they're half brother, half sisters here and there. Like the mom was with this, person or that or whatever, so they kind of have like a half sibling thing going on. But she's a very disciplined person. She's a very like disciplined, motivated individual. She's really like a rare person in this day and age. And she even admitted it, like the way the world is now, like people, she's like, it's not like, she knows that she's not like other people. And I peep how she kind of moves and kind of thinks in a way. You know what I'm saying? So I can kind of tell that she kind of knows that she's stuck. She's kind of like an outlier female, I guess you can say, because really she could really be like, with like how she looks, she could really like be out here being a super thought, like making money off of her looks. You know what I'm saying? Like she really could be, but she's like very religious, very focused. She's like in school, she's working full time. She's also helps around with the family a lot. You know what I'm saying? So she doesn't put herself first. The way she moves and the way she operates, she does a lot of stuff for her siblings. She's always looking out for them. She's always being in a servant type role. So, that's how you know that if she's different, because she's not selfish, like unlike women of her age. And I've known her like for some time now, as far as just talking to her here and there and kind of getting to know her. So I've kind of known her for some time. And she is in an unfortunate situation. And, it kind of reminds me, some years back, I was in downtown Houston, me and one of my brothers in the faith, and we ran into some girls from the west side of Houston. They were like from Katy, if I'm not mistaken, and they were young. They were like in their early 20s, and we had a conversation about the Bible and everything. And they were like, they were like into church and all that stuff, and they were saying like how all three of them have to hang out together because they're the only ones from their high school. They want to go into college that don't, party, they don't smoke, they don't drink, and they didn't dress like hoochie mom it out. They were like in their early 20s. They were like 20, 21 years old. You know what I'm saying? And, that's how I knew that they were different. So we ended up striking a conversation with them, that time. And there's a handful of women out here, bruh. Like if you really pay attention, there's a handful of women out here that are really not modern women. They're not trying to be, I'm not saying they're full on traditional, but they're just not about that life. You know what I'm saying? And they're out there, man. They're very rare. I'm just giving you an example of like a rare one that I know, and I can tell because I know when a woman is a Tatiana, bro. I know when a woman is like boy crazy, like has a boy crazy energy about them. She doesn't have that, very focused, you know what I'm saying? And so but these women are really in a bad situation when it comes to like having enough female friends that think like them, that want to be more traditional, want to be married, want to have a family, like they're idealistically, and they're moving in that way, you know what I'm saying? So I think for them, this is one of the biggest problems with women that are like that, especially young women that want that. One of the biggest issues that they'll have is the fact that that most women, even like that, they still want the bad boy. They would like to actually find a man that is a former bad boy, or turn a former bad boy into a Christian. And I've seen this, bro. We used to call it when I was in Austin. I used to go to this particular church, And these young girls that college age girls, they would always bring these riffraffs to the church or to the like the Bible study, and they were like trying to flirt to convert. They were trying to have us guys rub off on them, so that way they can convert over to being Christians, being quote unquote believers, and then they can hopefully like marry these guys. So women have a natural natural interest towards like the edgier bad boy, and I've seen it. I've seen it too many times, bro. You know what I'm saying? I've seen it too many times. At this point, I can't lie to myself of what I've seen and what I've processed over the years. Because when the men get into stuff, into like into a religious pursuit, they actually want a woman that is their female counterpart of themselves in that same belief system. That's like the ideal. And if they find one, they're trying to lock it down. The problem is these women sometimes become elusive from those type of men in whatever respect of their religion that they're in. And they prefer somebody that's edgier, or they want like a bastardized version of the religious man, like meaning like they want the cool hip hop Christian who has like a thug appeal, like a Tupac, a born again Tupac, still, like edgy, but he's into the Bible, you know what I'm saying, or whatever. Like it's a very weird dynamic. It's just kind of like Brittany Renner with Kevin Gates. You know what I'm saying? She turned into Islam. She want to be a Muslim, but her version of a good Muslim or Muslims that she would want to be with is Kevin Gates. You know what I'm saying? Like, so you get what I'm saying? So that's just what it is. Kind of want to let y'all know a brief conversation of what I had about, a young woman being, and I said it before, of the happy marriages, the common denominator. It's not faith, because people think that marriage is a faith-based thing. No, marriage is something that was done irrespective of anybody's faith on a global scale. This is human history. The biggest common denominator of happiness that I've seen across the board, because generally people marry people from the same religious background or faith. The biggest indicator of a happiness is a young woman marrying young. That's what it is. Because they're able to pair bond, they fall in love, and then they're able to go through things, ups and downs a lot better, because they're basically practically obsessed with their spouse, their husband. Because the age of the man doesn't matter. I've seen the men be way older than their wives or the same age as their wives, but the happiness factor, the common denominator that I noticed was meeting the woman at a younger age. Because I don't do like, when did y'all marry? No, when did you meet is what I'm basing it off of. Because legalized marriage is not the beginning of a relationship. It predates that. Okay? So let me know what you think in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next episode.